I recently read The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain, really enjoyed it, and decided to catch up with some of the adaptations that I'd never seen before. I'd seen quite a few Prince and the Pauper films, but it turns out there were a lot of them. And one of the last ones that I have to watch is the 1977 film, and it does not work very well. And there's one main reason why it doesn't work, but there are a few other things that I don't think were well handled. For the most part, unless you're a huge fan of The Prince and the Pauper, I don't really recommend it. This was released in 1977, of course, directed by Richard Fleischer. It's written by Berta Dominguez D and Pierre Spengler and George MacDonald Fraser, based of course on the novel by Mark Twain, with a cast including Oliver Reed, Raquel Welch, Mark Lester, Charlton Heston, and various others. We do have a pretty good cast there, and the costumes are amazing. The costumes were actually my highlight, which may tell you a lot about the rest of the film. Very briefly, if you're unaware, it's about a prince called Edward and a pauper called Tom. They look identical, so identical they are in fact both played by Mark Lester, which is often the case with Prince and the Pauper. They're either played by twins or they're played by the same actor. And they meet, they realise they look alike, they decide to swap clothes, and they live out each other's lives, walking a mile in each other's shoes, obviously from very different perspectives. It's a great concept. Usually it's very well executed. The main reason that this does not work is the casting, not the performances, but the age of Edward and Tom. They are much, much older than any versions of Edward and Tom that I've ever seen. And it made it harder to buy into. I do try and judge this. Had I never read the book, had I never seen any other version, would I still feel the same way? Would I still think the characters seemed a little bit too old? And the honest answer there is yes, because I feel like when they're younger, they haven't got as much knowledge, they haven't got as much foresight, they would be able to handle situations more effectively when they're older, so I just don't think making them older works at all. As I said, nothing against the performances, but certainly the ages just do not work at all. The pacing of the narrative is not good either, and it doesn't feel like a children's film, or really a family film, but it doesn't feel like a film for older viewers either. And I don't know who their intended audience was, but I just don't think there is really a specific audience. It doesn't feel engaging or fun for younger viewers, isn't as dramatic or intense for older viewers, so it doesn't really have an audience there. And I don't know if they knew the audience they were aiming for, but for me, there is no clear audience. I guess the main audience would be fans of the story if you've read the book, but if you've read the book, I don't think you'll enjoy these versions of the characters. Visually, it's okay. As I said, the costumes looked brilliant. Good camera work, some good music. Generally, though, it's probably the weakest version of The Prince and the Pauper that I've seen. Some aspects of the story are reasonably well handled, some not so much because of the pacing, but because the boys were much older than I think they should be, I just didn't buy into it, and ultimately, unless you're a big fan of The Prince and the Pauper and like me, you want to see every adaptation, I don't really recommend it.